Hello and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to gather a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all starts with one thing, a deep understanding of human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. But I'm still teaching Zettelkasten these days, and today I have a rather interesting topic. The title is when to make a bib card. When in the process of doing things would you make a bib card? Now, I have to confess, every time I come to you and I show you things, I'm speaking from the standpoint of what I do, my experience, what works for me. And I can share it with you. You can use it or not use it, compare it to others or not compare it to others. It's just me sharing my processes. Well, today I am sharing something that I'm doing for the very first time. So I can't sit here and say, and I know this works, it's an experiment. And I'm sharing the experiment with you because I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And so let's go straight to the cards and start looking at what I'm talking about. Okay, here's my latest bib card. It's on a book called Speed Reading. Learn to Read a 200-plus page book in 1 hour by Cam Knight. As you can see, I have this bib card created, but I do not yet own the book. I've ordered the book, only it hasn't come yet. I just ordered the book. So why am I making a bib card for a book that hasn't even gotten here yet? This is the experiment that I am trying out, and it's as so often is the case, it's a little bit topical because the reason that I'm using this new method is that I have a bad habit of buying books because someone says it's very good or I get a reference to it elsewhere and I just think, oh, I would love to read that book. And so I acquire the book and then it sits on a shelf and doesn't get read for the longest time. So I see two problems involved in that. One, I'm dealing with right here and now. I'm going to see if I can learn how to speed read a book because some books do not need to be read every single word and pronounce it. This book was recommended to me by a friend, Shelley Meadows. She has her own website. She has a pretty amazing Zettelkasten, and she's a PhD student, and she's organizing hundreds of journal articles for her PhD. So that's her interest in a Zettelkasten, and no doubt also her interest in speed reading. And she recommended this book quite highly. So this is a new field that I've added to my bib card, who recommended it. But in addition, I always advocate that whenever you sit down to read a book, that you always give your purpose first, because your purpose is going to help you to stay on track with what it was you wanted to get out of that book, so that it's easier to give yourself permission to leave the book if it is apparent that the book is not going to deliver on that purpose, or if you've already accomplished that purpose. But in this case, I've written my purpose down for an additional reason. I want to know why I'm buying the book. And so ideally the two will be the same, but my feeling is that if I stop and indicate what's my purpose in ordering this book, I can give it a second thought and say, all right, does this really fit with what I need right now, or am I just piling up another book that I'm not going to get to? So I think that's a valuable addition, and it only acquires that secondary purpose when you make your bib card at the time you order the book. So then I also added one more thing, and that was, I've labeled it influence. I read the blurb about the book prior to placing the order, and here I put down what did they say that made me feel that, yeah, I do want to get that book? And in this case, what they were saying is that if they're not going to just teach you how to skim the book, Cam Knight is not going to just teach me how to skim the book or gloss over it, but how to actually use the power of the human eye to take in vast amounts of knowledge, of observations, and the human brain to process vast amounts of information very, very quickly without slowing it down by doing what Shelley Meadows calls elementary style reading, reading and sounding out every word as you go along, which is something that I tend to do. So I'm going to see if I can break that habit and learn how to speed read a book, and also at the same time to be able to evaluate whether I feel that I'm actually getting everything that I need to get out of that book when I'm doing a speed reading. So for that purpose, what I've done is I've stacked up some books that I'm going to practice with that are in graduated difficulty that I think will help me get a good handle both to practice the speed reading techniques and to evaluate whether that style of reading is going to be sufficient for me. So I'm going to just to share, I'm going to share the books that I've lined up that I want to speed read. Okay, number 1 is Alive in the Fire. This is an autobiographical account by Rachel Warmath, and I chose this book in part because I'm acquainted with Rachel, and we've had some conversations, and the book has a lot of white space, and it flows well. I've read the first chapter already, and I found it quite engaging, and so I think this will be a real good first book to practice speed reading techniques. The next 2 were virtually identical twins in terms of their difficulty level. I decided to break the tie based on which one has the fewest pages, and by golly, by the tiniest margin, the talent code won out on that test. So I'm going to read that next, and then followed by the John Acuff book. Both of these books have slightly smaller print, and I believe that they're business philosophical, and I think they're going to be relatively light reading. I don't expect to have a lot of difficulty with them, and I think they would be very good practice books to start moving my pace up a little bit in my speed reading. Again, I have 2 books, or my last 2 books in the test are, I love them because now we're getting back into my field. And both of them have to do with emotions. This one has more of the molecular biological approach. This one is more of the psychological, how you experience yourself approach. I believe this one is lighter than this one. And so I'm going to read this one first, even though this one is considerably longer. This one will really let me test how good I'm doing on speed reading, because by the time you get to the notes, you're in the 390 some pages. So that will be a real good challenge to see, can I sustain the speed reading approach through it? How long is it going to take me to get through it? And this one I expect to be very, very interesting, because it is the story of a woman scientist, Candace Pert, and not only does it study this information about the molecular basis of emotions, but it also carries some of her journey and what she's encountered. So I think it's going to be a semi-technical book. I don't think it's going to be exceedingly technical, but I think it will lean more to the technical side, and I hope to learn a lot from it. Now, these books, part of the reason why I want to do my speed reading on these books is that I am working on a course to teach the Zettelkasten in a logical way, that's designed, it's actually as much a workshop as it is a course designed to help those who take the course really build out their own Zettelkasten that's personalized to them. So there are like 9 main lessons in the course, but each lesson is divided into 6 parts, and the path that you take through those lessons will be slightly different depending on your goals and where you're headed with your Zettelkasten. And therefore, it's designed to help you have the Zettelkasten of your dreams. And so if you're interested in joining my email list to stay abreast of how that course is going, you can sign up for it on my website /zk-dreams. And that's part of the reason why I need to speed read, is because I'm going to be spending a lot of my time building out that course, and I won't have, like the 2 hours in the morning to just settle down and, luxuriate in my reading. I'm going to be speed reading because a good chunk of that time is going to be building out my course. The other thing I wanted to share with you is kind of unique right now for today. This podcast, this video will come out on the early morning of Wednesday, August 14th. And my August newsletter goes to the printer the following day. So if you see this on the day it comes out, you will have this day only if you want to have a trial subscription to my newsletter. And the reason why I bring that up, even though for the most part my newsletter is about writing with emotion, so why am I telling you Zettelkasten people about it? Well, there's a kind of an interesting piece in the newsletter this time on giving your Zettelkasten a personality test, which you guys might think is a whole lot of fun. And the fun thing about the newsletter trial is that it's priced at the cost, just straight at the printing cost. So it's only $9, and there's a lot of free goodies that come along with it as well, most of which are in support of writing with emotion. But if the newsletter itself at the trial price might be something that you guys in the Zettelkasten world might enjoy, just specifically for those 10 pages on the Zettelkasten. So if this is very time compressed because there's only really one day to take advantage of that. Okay, well, that's it for today. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.